Welcome to the seaside. We started off the season in Oschersleben back in April. It was a little bit chilly. We went to the Red Bull Ring in May. It was blooming hot there. And now we are in Zandvoort on the Dutch North Sea dunes, and I have to tell you, it's getting colder again. The air temperature is 21.1 degrees centigrade. The track is 27.2 degrees centigrade dry, but it might not remain like that. It's been a lovely week. You should have been here on Friday. It was glorious. Sadly, the cloud has come in. We have had rain showers on and off all day, and it has proven to be quite challenging for a number of the classes that are racing here at Circuit Zandvoort. Welcome along, everybody. It's good to have you here. Circuit Zandvoort, this legendary circuit. It provides great racing, but boy, does it bite. We are about 20 kilometers from Amsterdam in the North Sea dunes of Netherlands. It is a unique circuit. The atmosphere it provides is like nothing else, and we, at the end of this weekend, will be at the halfway point of the ADAC GT4 Championship 2022. It is a 12 race season, and this weekend races 5 and 6. You can see the grid is formed for race 5, which will be starting in just a few moments. Hugo Sasser, a great qualifying session from him. The young Charger, very much a championship contender, and he didn't have quite the run of things at the Red Bull Ring. A nasty accident for that car in race 2, but he is very much back on track, sharing with Mike David Ortman. A great qualifying session from him. He lines up on pole position. Alongside him, the only Toyota Supra on the grid. A very rapid one, though, for Piro Sports. It is Marcel Lenez in the number 12 car. It's the Toyota GR Supra GT4. We saw it debut at Hockenheim last year, and it was very strong. This year, it's back with a vengeance. Lining up third on the grid, licensed to thrill. Ben Deur in the 007 Deur Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage GT4. And of course, Deur Motorsport fielding numerous cars here in this class. They're all green Aston Martins, and they confuse us all because they all look the same. It's great to have so many cars on the grid. We are 1 minute away. We welcome to the grid Team Speed Monkey, 2 Aston Martins that are on the grid for the remainder of this season. Other headlines, Vincent Andronacco there in the number 22 car has a new co-pilot. Leo Pichler jumps into that seat because Paul Oral Koenig has moved, and Koenig has moved to from Team Allied Racing, and Oral Koenig will not be in the 22 car. He will be in the aforementioned car that we mentioned. The engines are running. The cars are getting ready for their formation lap, and we will be getting ready to go. I meant this Team Speed Monkey car is where Paul Oral Koenig is sharing driving duties alongside Konstantin Lakanauer. Gosh, it's all happening here, isn't it? Alongside me, Adam Weller. Hello, Adam. It's been an exciting qualifying. It's been quite a weekend, and this looks like we're going to go out with fireworks, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. We've got some very strong drivers starting at the sharp end of the order. Refer to that number 1 car, Gabriele Piana. Just ahead of him, the star of Oschersleben, Andronacco in the 22 car. There are some real strong drivers up there at the sharp end, not to mention further down, Ewan Mackay in the number 6 car. He's a little way further down than you'd expect. He's got Indy Doncic for company nearby as well. I'd say Nikolai Moller-Madsen's another driver we can expect some interesting things from. It's a strong grid.
And here we are with the grid that's about to scroll through. It is Hugo Sasser who starts on pole position for Pro Sport Racing with Marcel Lenez alongside Ben Deur, Vincent Andronacco. Keep an eye on Andronacco. He is so quick. Defending champion Gabriel Piana and Jan-Philipp Philip Springhob on the next row, and they're ahead of Julian Hanses, another Charger, Simon Connor Prim, another of the Der Motorsport cars, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, former champion, alongside Moritz Viskersen on row 5. Row 6, the legend Indy Doncha with Ewan Mackay from Great Britain. Ferdinand Winter and Stefan Bastanciez line up on row 7, and on row 8, Max Kronberg and Konstantin Lechenauer that we mentioned earlier on for Speed Monkey. Another of Speed Monkey cars on row 9, Jacob Riegel and Max Rosum, another of the Hofer Racing by Bonk BMWs, Patrick Steinmetz in the BMW alongside Tom Kiefer, and Robert Haub with Joachim Bolting alongside, occupying row 11 of the grid. Row 12, Yevgen Sokolovsky and Axel Sartingen with Lucas Meyer and Sandro Holzum on the next row. Matej Pavlicek brings up the rear in the number 89 KTM Crossbow for RTR Projects. We are at Circuit Zandvoort track. That is 4.259 kilometers around. That equates to about 2.646 miles. 14 turns, 10 to the right and 4 to the left. But this circuit is mighty banked. It's like nothing you've seen before in the world of GT racing. 19 degrees of banking on turns 14 and also on turns 3. The banking on turn 14, allowing the drivers to take a lot more speed onto the pit straight and creating overtaking opportunities into turn 1, the Tarzan turn. The formation lap is almost complete. The cars come round towards the turn 13, and then it'll be up onto the banking. They will grid up side by side, and it is Hugo Sasser who will lead the field across the line and try to get the jump on Marcel Lanez as this race gets underway. Now, just looking from that view on board, I don't know if I'm hallucinating or not. Was that rain? I'm not too sure, but rain could be a factor. The showers are predicted throughout this afternoon, and we haven't had one for a few minutes, so it's about overdue. Riding on board with Indy Doncha for Der Motorsport. He will be very strong from where he's starting, so keep an eye on him. Out of turn 14, the safety car ducking off into the pit lane. It's now Sasser who leads them out along the pit straight, and very, very shortly we will be ready to go racing. It is race 5 of this 12 race season for the ADAC GT4 Germany. Sasser well ahead into turn 1. Challenges behind that look like Nikolai Moller-Madsen getting a nose in, riding on board with Indy Doncha in the Der Motorsport Aston Martin. It looks like all the cars have made it around turn 1. A result in itself, but here we go into turn 2 and up onto the banking. That is turn 3. Is Sasser leading the way. The rest of the cars come streaming through. This first lap of the race, a great opportunity to make up places, but an even better opportunity to end up in the kitty litter. Sasser now under pressure from Marcel Lanez, the Supra, putting all sorts of pressure on the Aston Martin. Aston Martin leading from Toyota Supra, from Aston Martin. The Porsche, Vincent Andronaco in 4th place. Keep an eye on him. He does not know anything other than the top step of the podium. He's already done it once this year, and he's looking to do it again. Here come the rest of the field.
And just a bit of an offensive move there from the Schubert Motorsport BMW. Steinmetz taking the wheel of that car for the start. Patrick Steinmetz moving up from what is a very low starting position on the grid for the number 10 car. We'd expect more from Schubert normally down there on the 10th row of the grid at the start of this race. So they'll be looking to make early profits and early gains if they possibly can. Some fighting further back as Nikolai Moller-Madsen comes under pressure from that 85 car of Julian Hanses. Hanses trying to go to the inside of the Avia Porsche. None of it, though, for Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who's such an experienced hand. No matter what series you're looking at, he's done a fair bit of GT racing over the years, and Hanses pressures him.
Hanses was a superstar in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany over these last few years. Everybody wondered how he would take to changing to the front-engined Mercedes. The answer is very well indeed, thank you very much. And as he circulates in 8th place, he is challenging, as indeed is the number 30 car. That has Max Kronberg at the wheel, down in 15th place at the moment, but looking to move forwards is the number 30 car. If you're new to ADAC GT4 Germany racing, to remind you, the race is a timed race. It is 60 minutes plus 1 lap added on for extra luck at the end. During this hour of racing, every car will be required to visit the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. That visit needs to be during a window. The window opens 25 minutes into the race. It's open for 10 minutes and then it closes again. So during that window, that 10-minute window, every car needs to visit the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. And just to make things even more complicated, there is a minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds. So no car must go below that, otherwise they will pick up a penalty. Hugo Sassa leading the way. He's broken clear because Marcel Lenez, having been on the hunt, is now on the defense. Ben Deur is challenging that Supra. Marcel Lenez just monstering the car around the corner up towards 13 once more. This is allowing Hugo Sassa to stretch his legs, and Sassa will be mighty pleased to see the fellow Aston Martin giving the second place a little bit of hassle. Vincent Andronacco still in fourth. Jan-Philipp Springhoff up into fifth place. Gabriel Piana, the defending champion in ADAC GT4 Germany and the double winner last time out, at the moment going backwards through the field as Julian Hansis now puts the pressure on. Vincent Andronacco challenging for that third place. Ben Deur in 007 holding on at the moment, but Vincent Andronacco, the young charger in the number 22 Allied Racing Porsche, has been a revelation this year in GT racing. But also look at Jan-Philipp Springhoff in the Drago Racing Team ZVO Mercedes. He is putting the pressure on.
Another position lost there by Piana. Hansis got through there, taking an incredibly low line on the banked turn 3 Hugenholz. So very interesting there, Piana continuing to fall through the order. He's now down as far as 8th position. I wonder if all is well with that BMW.
The Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport car was mighty at the Red Bull Ring, but we do know that circuit does tend to favour the BMW. He is, of course, carrying a weight handicap as well as a result of that win at the Red Bull Ring, as we look again at a replay of Julian Hansis finding his way past the BMW. But I do wonder whether the car is just not as dialed in. The qualifying done in changeable conditions, setups a little bit all over the place for many of these cars. But at the moment, Piana just doesn't seem to have the pace. Hanses moving through, and now there's a queue of Aston Martins and Porsches behind waiting to get past. Here comes our leader, Hugo Sassa, and as they cross the line, it was 0.6 of a second last time around. Let's see what the gap is this time around. It's going to increase. It's 0.9 of a second, so almost a second over the Supra. But now Andronacco makes a little bit of a dive bomb to the inside of 007, and Ben Deur giving him plenty of room, it has to be said. Now up onto turn 2 and into the banked area of the circuit. Andronacco not scared to get his elbows out. Up high he goes. Now can 007 fight his way back? No, he can't. On the opposite of that, in fact, Springhoff has followed through as well. So Jan-Philipp Springhoff coming through into 4th place. It's Andronacco up into 3rd. And suddenly, Ben Deur drops 2 positions in the course of just a couple of corners.
All changes very quickly, doesn't it? More of that signature Vincent Andronacco audacity that we saw there with that late-breaking move into Tarzan. Held it, come what may, going through turn 2, Gerlach, and now he's up into 3rd place. He's given the Supra a little bit of breathing room with all of that, albeit unintentionally, so Marcel Lenez not quite under pressure for now, but I'd wager that that's probably not going to last long.
That battle of 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th all together on the track. Now Ben Deur trying to fight back. He has a little look at Springhoff in front of him, but now suddenly Nikolai Moller-Madsen has decided he wants to get in on the action as well. The 2020 champion, not had the kind of start to the season that he was hoping for, looking to get his championship chase back on track and move up through the order. And Nikolai Moller-Madsen is a man who backs off for nobody. Out of turn 14 we come again along the pit straight. Hugo Sassa, the gap up to 1.3 seconds. So at the moment, he's opening up about half a second a lap from Marcel Lenez in the Toyota Supra. How long can he hold on to that 12th position? Because Vincent Andronacco is moving forwards.
Yes, he is. Andronacco is one that doesn't tend to stop moving forwards once he gets started, as you see them there through the banking, through turn 3. They run beyond the official limits of the circuit there. There's a white line that gets ignored with aplomb. They go as close to the wall as they possibly can, and it does make for some spectacular viewing. I heartily recommend, if you're ever here on the ground at Zandvoort, if you're close enough, why not come along tomorrow and take a look at turn 3. It is a great place to see these cars go by. And, well, Ben Durr, he's not going to want to watch anybody go by. He's going to want to make some progress. He's got Moller Madsen not far behind him. And speaking of Durrs, it's the ADAC Motorsport McLarens making Piana's life rather difficult at the moment as they run through turn 10.
You're in 2021 there. Aston Martins this year for Ben Durr. The McLarens have been moved along, and Durr is now challenging for that position. So there's Simon Commoner Prim in 9th place behind Gabriel Piana. And Indy Doncia in there as well. Indy Doncia, who is a legendary figure in GT racing. Good to have him back in GT4 again this year. Moritz Viskursen in the Porsche running in 11th. Ewan Mackay in 12th place in another of those pesky Aston Martins. There's an awful lot of them in this race. Very much the weapon of choice here. We ride on board with Indy Doncia, and looking at the timing screens just as they cross the line. 1.6 seconds is the lead as we ride with Indy Doncia to the inside of the number 95 car, Simon Commoner Prim. This is for 9th place. Indy Doncia taking that away from his teammate with relative ease. I do wonder whether the door was maybe propped open a little for him.
I do wonder the same, and now this is very interesting because the next car for Indy Doncia is the championship 2nd place at the moment. Piana and Trey, of course, Doncia and Phil Durr leading the championship by 9 points at the moment, and with Piana seemingly struggling out there, Indy Doncia is going to sense the opportunity to pass and then score some more points.
So we have the Drivers' Championship, as already mentioned. Indy Doncia, Phil Durr leading the way in that. There's a Junior Championship. It's Alex Hartvig and Moritz Viskursen, who are tied on points at the top of that, ahead of Romain Leroux and Ben Durr. In the Trophy Championship, Joachim Bolting and Tano Neumann are at the top of that, ahead of Christian Koch and Tom Kiefer. At the moment, Hugo Sassa is the man who's leading this race and looking to get his championship back on track. His co-driver, Mike David Allman, had a fairly large accident in race 2 at the Red Bull Ring last time out and scored 0 points. And Hugo Sassa looking to make up for that. They need a good score in both races this weekend. And that's exactly, well, they're on track at the moment. Sassa leading the way from Marcel Lenez. Out of the final corner he comes once again onto the start-finish line. The 1.687 gap is now 2.234, so really stretching his legs out the front in that Aston Martin. Marcel Lenez still in 2nd place, some 7/10 ahead of Vincent Andronacco.
The battles, as always, further down the order are, of course, continuing. That's the great thing about ADAC GT4 Germany. Even if there isn't an overtake imminent in the top 5, you best believe 18th place is still under contest somewhere. It's such an evenly matched field of cars, such a high standard of drivers here in the ADAC GT4 Germany, of course. Well, this is the ultimate shop window for the ADAC GT Masters. All of these drivers have a point to prove, and that point is, get me in a GT3 car and I'll do just as well. I must say, Marcel Lenez there did very well to stop the car going into turn 8 there. The Supra was incredibly skittish at the rear end going through turn 8. Thought for a moment he was going to end up in the kitty litter.
Just looking at the grid of GT Masters this weekend, and it is like a who's who of GT4, ADAC GT4 racing from last year. It is I wouldn't say it's a training ground because this is not necessarily a ladder, but a lot of drivers do start in GT4 and move on up. And so many of the drivers that are making the headlines in the bigger GT3 series started out here on the ADAC GT4 grid. And the racing is non-stop. The action is non-stop. I'll tell you what else is non-stop. Those dark clouds. How ominous. I don't wish to be a doomsayer. I know it's probably sounding like it, and I'm not wishing it on anybody, but those clouds are getting closer. Our commentary box has got very dark. I've had to turn the lights on so I can see my notes. So it could be. We've still got 47.5 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. The weather may yet be a factor as we look further back at the number 99 car of Konstantin Lekanauer for Team Speed Monkeys. We welcome them to the grid here, but currently under pressure from Joachim Bolting in the number 9 Porsche.
Piana has just about got a second or so over, oh no, it was half a second at the line. I think it might have gone out a little bit in the first few corners between Piana and Indy Doncia in that 9th position. We alluded to the fact that those are the top 2 in the championship, so it is a critical battle out there on circuit, and Indy will be keen to dispatch the Beamer if at all possible. We look further back to the number 9 car here. This is Bolting in 20th place. He's got Robert Haub for company behind him. Of course, Haub, as always, teaming with Gabriela Jilkova, who I'm sure will be making moves in the second half of this race. And let's take a replay here. What are we looking at? It's the battle. Oh, this is a bit of a glancing blow there from Bolting to Haub, or from Haub, I should say. And, well, Robert Haub ended up tapping the rear of another Cayman to send it spinning at Oschersleben. Thankfully, not quite the same fate for Bolting on that occasion.
The steep banking here at turn 3 and indeed at turn 14. It's a new discipline for many of these drivers, the car acting in a way that wouldn't happen on a regular flat corner. Also into turn 1, Tarzan, you don't realise it's quite uphill and it's quite banked. It's also quite a good overtaking opportunity. Vincent Andronacco muscling his way past Marcel Lenez. Out of my way, I am coming through. He wants to get after Hugo Sassa. Remember him at Oschersleben? He came through the pack, but also Jan-Philipp Springhoff, he has come alive in that Mercedes. He's joined that team this year, and he is now challenging Vincent Andronacco as well, fighting all the way through the pack.
And Lenez now trying to do some damage limitation here. He's lost 2 further places after Andronacco because of the... and just running it out there. The car's looked a little bit unbalanced and unsettled all race long. And now that he's under threat, you see it again. The car is really just trying to get away from him almost. And here comes Nikolai Moller-Madsen at turn 9. Up the inside he goes. Julian Hanses keeps a watching brief as well to see if he could get involved in this around the outside potentially at turn 10. That's a brave place for anyone to place the car, but he doesn't have to go to the outside because a bit of a tight line for Lenez opens up the run for Julian Hanses. He's going to have a nose ahead by the time they get to the braking zone for turn 12. They'll be side by side. We ride on board. Who will be ahead? It will be Hanses all the way around the outside at turn 11. Into turn 12 he goes as our new 6th place runner, and so that means 2nd to 7th in 1 lap for Marcel Lenez.
Lenez is going to be licking his wounds there. The oversteering Supra, I wonder whether the rear tyres have gone off on that, whether he's just taken too much out too soon, because the car really did look very tail happy. He is now fighting back on Julian Hanses, so Lenez trying to find his way back from that 7th position, but that's going to take a lot of work, and it's quite hard just to keep your chin up when you've been running in 2nd for a quarter of an hour, and then suddenly in the course of 1 lap you're down to 7th, and that is going to take a bit of coming back from. Hanses looks to have 6th place well under control as he rides up the banking. Moller-Madsen is ahead of Hanses. Ben Dur in 007 is 4th. Jan-Philipp Springhoff is 3rd. In 2nd place, Vincent Andronacco behind Hugo Sassa. Let's keep an eye on the gap. 4.01 seconds was the gap last time around between 1st and 2nd. We'll keep an eye on that and see whether Andronacco has got anything for that Aston Martin. Doesn't look as though he's leaving Springhoff behind at the moment. So the race, 43.25 minutes remaining. We are about 8 minutes away from the pit window opening, and the strategy will have to kick in here. If a car is running in traffic, it may well be that the team will bring them in early in the pit window. If it's running in open track, it might be that they leave it till late in the window. Gabriel Piana, it feels like there's something amiss with that car, because Indy Doncia flashing the lights and monstering the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW, not finding a route past at the moment, but it feels like only a matter of time before Indy Doncia does find a route past that car. Gabriel Piana, a vastly experienced driver, as indeed is Indy Doncia. They are fighting over that 8th place. The championship defending champions Piana and Schrey in the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW, not in the position that they were enjoying at the Red Bull Ring at the moment.
Of course, that BMW, the M4 GT4, 33 car, the Black Falcon Porsche is in. The Team Techstar car, Axel Sartingen at the wheel, and he's taken one of the tyre stacks with him at turn 12. That's going to have been a hefty impact. That's inevitably going to be a safety car and make that a full course yellow that will be put out in just a couple of seconds, and you can see why. That's a massive obstruction in the middle of the circuit there. Now, that's a very strange place and a very strange angle to be at. Even if he had almost no brakes, I don't think he'd get that far into the gravel. So I'm very curious to see the exact circumstances behind that car's current position.
Well, we may well see a replay. Axel Sartingen, who knows his way around a race car, and you do wonder whether there was some kind of failure. It's interesting we've gone full course yellow, but it's been new for this year. Right, let's have a look again. He just gets it all wrong. Of course, once he's on the gravel, he hasn't got any steering, and he's slapped it with the back end of the car, almost taken out the KTM crossbow in the process. And I don't think that was our leader. Was that Yevgen Sokolovsky who was coming through there? But Sartingen almost got it moving, but I expect he's probably done a bit of damage to the back of that car. Full course yellow has been introduced this year into ADAC GT4. It means that the cars can only go at 80 kilometers an hour. Normally, the full course yellow will only come out when the pit window is open or about to open, because the safety car disadvantages drivers or advantages drivers to such a degree when the pit window is open. But I'm surprised we didn't go safety car in this instance. They clearly feel as though they can get that car out of the way in a hurry and get this race back under green flag conditions. But at the moment, full course yellows means that the cars need to circulate at this set speed of 80 kilometers an hour as the car roll. Is there anybody in that?
Yes, he reversed it back into the gravel. I've been watching that, cringing for the last few seconds. He was reversing back. The marshal said no. He reversed back a little more. The marshal said no, and now we're here.
So, as you were, let's have an action replay of them dragging it out of the gravel. Yes, forward is the only way. The fact that wheel is not turning so well, you do wonder whether all is not well with the mechanics of that Porsche.
No, the front suspension is definitely not quite right anymore, unfortunately, after that huge collision he had with the tyre wall. Just before all of this kicked off, I was talking about the Piana BMW. More specifically, I was going to mention, of course, this M4 GT4, not long in the tooth, but it has been around for a while now. Wealth of data for them to use on that car. And of course, as we see another replay of this moment, an impact in 3, 2, 1 winds away. The new M4 GT4 was released since, or has been announced and shown to the world since last time out at the Red Bull Ring. So we can expect a new BMW on tap at ADAC GT4 Germany next year to go along with the M4 GT3 in GT Masters.
Very exciting. Check out the ADAC website. There's a great feature on that and some lovely pictures. There's also a new Lamborghini Huracan coming, but we don't talk about that because this is GT4. We are looking at a replay, and Springob got up alongside and passed Andronarco while all that was going on. So that must have happened pre-full course yellow. If it hadn't, there'd be a big penalty coming his way. So Springob up into second place. And Hasser still leading. You have a confused look on your face.
I was just going to say, Andronarco got Andronarco'd.
Indeed.
That was signature Vincent Andronarco. Late on the brakes, get them while they're not concentrating. And, well, Springob's proven that it can be done to the man as well.
Jan-Philipp Springob, who has been learning from the driver in front of him, although Andronarco, the youngest driver in the field, he is a real talent. And he should be learning from the Masters, but it seems to be the other way around a lot of the time. This full course yellow, as I was about to say, means that the gaps should not change between the cars, and the leader is still Hugo Sassa. 5.274 seconds is the gap at the lead. We're just looking for an update on what is happening. The Turn 12 marshals have been earning their overtime this weekend already. There's been a lot of action out on Turn 12. They sweep away the kitty litter as the rest of the cars come through, run for cover, and they will get that sorted very shortly. It'll be interesting to see whether the pit window opens at the same time. In theory, it should be able to, but the marshals now running back to safety, so I think we're going to be back under green flag very shortly. Of course, all of this running around at a reduced speed will have allowed the tyres to cool down, so getting the heat back in the tyres and getting back up to speed without putting it back in the kitty litter is going to be a skill in itself. You can see drivers getting suited and booted ready for when the pit window opens, and then it will be all change as every car has to come in to the pits. 10 seconds was the warning for the end of full course yellow, but that came about 10 seconds ago. So the green flag is out. Andrew Narco needs to get back after Springop. He wants to spring after him and spring into second place and after Hugo Sassa. Sassa, 4.1 seconds to the lead, so he's lost about a second during that full course yellow. I'm not sure that's meant to happen. Lots of battles up and down the field. We're looking at Ewan Mackay in the number 6 car in 12th place, and he is in the midst of all the traffic with Max Kronberg behind him, riding on board with Julian Hanses in 6th place. Ahead of him is Nikolai Moller-Madsen and Ben Dorr. Those 3 cars running very much together on the track.
Yes, they're pretty much married together at this point, aren't they? The battle for 4th, 5th and 6th places at the moment. 3 manufacturers involved. The Aston Martin of the 007 leading Moller-Madsen's Porsche Cayman, a car that we saw at Oschersleben. Rather got treated like that tyre stack. Ended up being collected in quite a big moment down at T3 at Oschersleben last time. He'll be looking to get some solid points on the board in the quest to get the 31 car back up the championship order along with Finn Zulaf.
I wonder whether Andrew Narco is another driver who's taking too much out of the car, out of the tyres, because he was looking very tail happy coming out of the corner, and that Porsche was just sliding a little bit, and he did put an awful lot of heat on to get up into that second place originally. Tyre preservation is very much the order of the day in a race that is an hour long, and of course whatever is left in terms of rubber he has to hand over to his teammate Leo Pichler, who jumps into that car for this event, and the teammate will be taking over shortly because the pit window is now open, and hey, guess what? The windscreen wipers are going, which means that it is raining, so we could have all sorts of problems. There's confirmation from our live puddle on the scene. The rain is falling. Oh, this is going to get lively. So the pit window is open. Within the next 9.5 minutes, every driver will need to visit the pits. The number 63 of Jacob Riegel is in already.
I think that everyone else other than Jacob Riegel is going to be told, stay out.
Yeah.
If they can do the change of tyres under the pit window, that will be ideal. It also is going to be less than ideal for all of the pit crews. They'll be hoping it stays dry. Reason being that these cars, unlike the GT3s, they're not single stud, the wheels. It's 5 studs on the wheels, and that means that the changing of 4 tyres is a laborious thing. And you see there, the rain certainly is showing itself on Indy Doncia's windscreen. This is potentially going to be a hugely dramatic pit window and a huge headache for anyone working in a race suit down there in the garages.
Well, normally when the pit window opens, we see a queue of cars coming in, and as predicted by my colleague at the side of me, we have only 3 cars. Jacob Riegel, Lucas Meyer and Yevgen Sokolovsky. They've are all in the pits, but you can see the wet weather tyres are on standby. That's Lucas Meyer, who's handing over to Denis Bolotov in the number 20 car, and they may well have to visit again if the rain starts to really pour down. So the teams are having to think on their feet with pit strategy. We would normally have a very busy pit lane by now, but they're all staying out. 8-minute window. What is going to happen? Well, there's Steinmetz flashing the lights as he heads along the pit straight, just drawing attention to himself. But still, only 3 cars have visited the pit lane so far.
Yes, so very wise, I think this is from all parties concerned. This means that if you are, well, they're all on dry tyres at the moment, and it means that either at the end of the window, we're going to know we need the wets or need the dries, more than likely. And so that's what they're waiting on at the moment. They're going to be probably holding off until the very last lap or until the rain stops falling.
Well, Andronarco would be happy to go on to wet tyres because he's probably frazzled the ones that are on his Porsche at the moment. Springop now has the Porsche filling his mirrors once again. You can see the rain on the lens of the camera right now. In comes, that's Robert Haub out of 23rd place. The number 4 car handing over to Gabriela Gilkova. She is pretty useful behind the wheel of that Mercedes-Benz. Here come the rest of the cars. Windscreen wipers running. This is such a difficult decision for the teams. Do they, don't they? All the strategy that's been arranged before the race is thrown out the window while we look at the clouds and decide what the weather's going to do. Still, the majority of the field have remained out on track. And it is still just a handful of cars, I think 4, who have or are in the pits.
It's definitely a little bit harder rain from our commentary position than it was about a lap and a half ago. Whether or not this is a momentary shower, I don't know. But look at Vincent Andronarco. He wants it to be a momentary stint in 3rd position. He wants 2nd. Let's see if he dives. He does. Vincent Andronarco for the 3rd time in this race dives to the inside at Tarzan and forcibly gets his way through. I'm sure Leo Pitchler's watching this going, oh, I do hope I get a go. And he may well be hoping for those wet tyres, as you were rightly saying, because it seems those slicks have been spent quite nicely. Full course yellow, and it caught out a few people there, but full course yellow has been declared. Now, I reckon this could be, unless we see imminently evidence of a car off somewhere, this is safety matters, slick tyres, wet track, full course yellow, probably the right course of action.
And I think we're going to see the entire field come into the pit lane this time around. I think the full course yellow has been thrown. That will allow the drivers to change to wet tyres. Now, there will be a gamble to remain on slicks. There may be some who remain on slicks, a braver person than I would be. So let's have a look again. Vincent Andronarco, who will be henceforth known as the dive bomber, getting into the back of that Mercedes. We didn't see the start of that manoeuvre, but he did unsettle him halfway down the pit straight. That would have been a brown alert moment for the number 8 Springop car. And you could see as they went to full course yellow, they almost got into each other again on the exit of turn 3. In fact, I think they might have actually made contact for the 2nd time. They are under investigation by our race stewards. I'm sorry, Vincent, there may be a penalty incoming here. Into the pits comes the 89 car. It's Matej Pavlicek, who is handing over to Josef Knopp in the RTR Projects KTM Crossbow. Watch out, the pits are probably going to get very busy anytime soon. Was that the number 6 car that I saw into the pits? Yes, it was. Tom Wood. Tom Wood, a red P next to his name would indicate that he has probably gone below the minimum pit stop time. Subject to confirmation, there is a minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds. If the drivers go below that, they may well cop a penalty. Ewan Mackay handed over to Tom Wood, but it looks as though he has gone below that pit time.
0.3 of a second on the timing screen. 95 seconds. He did 94.7. So that's 0.3 of a second. I think sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's that small, they might just send them through the penalty lap. So it won't be that huge of a loss. Although, with us being under full course yellow, that won't be able to be served for a little while. We'll have to see quite what effect that has on the race for the number 6 car in a short order.
Now, this is interesting because we saw the 48 car in the pits earlier. Christopher Röhrner, who's taken over from Yevgen Sokolovsky. They were on slicks, obviously, and they now are coming in again, a second stop for wet tyres. Tyre changes not normally allowed in ADAC GT4 unless you have these changing conditions. And as we suspected, well, everybody is coming into the pits. Moritz Viskersen, I'm looking to see where he is out on the track. He is currently in 10th place. He hasn't come in, but look at all those drivers there. You can see the countdown clocks ticking away. Ricardo Winter in the number 84 car, sorry, Ferdinand Winter, handing over to Ricardo Dott. Stefan Bastanciez, he's in the 26 car. Tom Kiefer will be handing over to Christian Koch. So this is going to be a crowded pit lane, and this in itself could cause dramas because getting out of the pit box and into the pit lane is going to be a bit of a job. The mechanics are going to be earning their keep today because they're stacking the cars in the pits. The number 22, Andronako to Leo Pichler, and the other of the Allied Racing Porsches, Tom Kiefer to Christian Koch, having to double stack in the pit lane, and the crews having to work twice as hard. This is going to scramble the field up.
Black and white flag to the 22, to Vincent Andronako for pushing another car. So only a black and white flag, only a warning. Got off relatively scot-free then, all told. Hands the car over now to Leo Pichler, of course. And now we see the cars coming out, and
that's Mike David Ortman in the pit lane, who took over from Hugo Sasser. So, all being well, if everything goes to plan, he might be in the lead of this race. Who knows? Because the dice has been rolled by many. The random element has been thrown. I believe that everybody either is or has visited the pits now, and I expect everybody is on wet weather tyres. Of course, what will happen now is they'll get back up to racing conditions. It'll stop raining, and they'll be burning up the wet weather tyres. So it can all be kicking off yet. One of the Allied Racing Porsches still in the pits, and that would be Christian Koch. Of course, the crews having to work on 2 tyres, and this is not like Formula 1, where the pit stops are 2-3 seconds. As already mentioned, they have many studs on 4 wheels, 4 studs, 5 studs on the wheels.
Yes.
Hand indications to my right here. At least I think that's what you were saying to me.
Yes.
That was something rude. Patrick Steinmetz looking on and shaking his head in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. He's handed on to Michael von Zabienski. There's Alex Hartvig, and Alex Hartvig clearly hasn't got in the car yet. Just looking to see what is occurring there. He was taking over Moritz Viskersen. So Viskersen is the only driver that hasn't come into the pits. So Viskersen, we said everyone had or is in, but Viskersen's still out there in the number 44 car. So he is either on the slicks or on the wets already, which I think is pretty unlikely, or is going to have to come in now. And I'm guessing the reason they've kept him out there is because the crew have been busy changing the wheels and tyres on the other Allied Racing Porsches. And so it's just a matter of logistics. And although Viskersen will have had a bit of glory leading this race, Alexander Hartvig is going to have a whole load of trouble to inherit because he is going to be a long way down. Here he comes. This is a finely choreographed business. Only 2 crew members allowed to work on the car. You also have the Lollipop Man and the drivers helping each other in and out, and that's exactly what we see happening here. Moritz Viskersen handing it over to Alexander Hartvig, the 2 junior drivers swapping their positions.
just waiting to see if and when the tyres get changed. There was some tyre pressure adjustments, but we haven't seen the car up on the jacks for the tyre change itself yet, and it's not happening. And I thought, I was watching them down the pit lane when everyone was in the pit lane. I thought to myself, I'm not sure everyone's gone up on the jacks for the stop, and I think that might be the case. So let's wait and see. I know we saw some wheel guns in use, but I'm not sure it's been a universal swap.
Those look like slicks to me. I cannot see any tread. Can you?
No.
It would be a heck of a roll of the dice, it has to be said, because that car will be Bambi on ice in these conditions. The number 44 car, hand out the commentary box window. Is it still raining? It's still raining. Well, it is where we're sat. Maybe it's not on that part of the circuit. I have to say, the pit straight is looking reasonably dry at the moment. We are still under full course yellow whilst all this is going on. So it means that there is strictly no overtaking. Mike David Ortman retakes his position at the front of the field. Well, certainly the position that the car was in when Hugo Sasser was driving it. Romain Leroux in third. In second, Nico Gruber. Oh, this is a challenge for him. He was in TCR Germany last year, currently up into third place. We knew that a bit of rain and the pit window would shuffle the pack up, and that looks to be exactly what's happened.
So they've gone to safety car now. We were under full course yellow and it's now safety car conditions.
And that's because the pit window has closed.
Yes.
And so what they'll want to do is get the tyres up to temperature, because they can circulate a lot quicker behind the safety car than they can under full course yellow. So I imagine that's why the safety car has come.
Yes, it's difficult because these GT4 cars aren't really set up for the world of pit stops. You do see them in longer races here and there, but with those 5 studs on the wheels, they're definitely not optimized for quick stops, quick tyre changes. And so I think it is, just as you say, like a matter of making sure that this unfamiliar situation is done in the safest way possible. I must say, I'm pretty sure that's a Jos Verstappen cap on that Marshall as well, so I'm just going to give him a quick nod for the retro gear.
Yes, you'd expect nothing else at Zandvoort, would you? I'm keeping an eye on the number 44 Porsche. Alex Hartvig at the wheel. He's taken over from Moritz Viskersen. I think he is on slicks. He's currently in 6th place and doing everything he can in terms of non-rain dances, praying, bowing, whatever it is it takes for the rain to stop, because if he is on slicks and the track dries out, he will be in the box seats for a real haul of points. But it's a massive gamble, because we've already seen on this circuit, when it's wet, it really is pretty slippery. Here comes the safety car now to pick up the leader, Mike David Ortman, and he will come out of the pit lane. There comes Ortman now along the pit straight, and that will bunch the field up on a track that is greasy. When we go back to green flag conditions, who knows what we might see. This really has scrambled up the order, hasn't it? Mike David Ortman is currently the race leader. We're going to wait for them to cross the line. Ben Durr in 2nd place crosses the line. It's Nico Gruber in 3rd in the number 8 Drago Racing Team ZVO Mercedes. He's taken over from Jan Philipp Springhob. In 4th place, Leo Pichler, who has taken over from Vincent Andronacco, well, whatever's remaining of that Porsche. Finn Zulauf, who's taken over from Nikolai Moller-Madsen in 5th place in the number 31 car. The potentially slick-shod Alex Hartvig in the number 44 Allied Racing Porsche, who's taken over from Moritz Viskersen in 6th. Cedric Pirot, who has taken over from Marcel Lenez in the Supra in 7th. Phil Durr in the number 69 Durr Motorsport Aston Martin, who's taken over from Indy Doncia in 8th. In 9th, we welcome back Theo Overhaus. Haven't even mentioned him yet. He's back on the grid after a round off. We had Theo Noe in that seat, sharing with Julian Hanses at the Red Bull Ring, the CV Performance Group Mercedes. It's good to have Theo Overhaus back here in 9th. And rounding out the top 10, championship leader, Michael Schrey, who's taken over from Gabriele Piana in the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW. We wait. I've had no notification of any penalty on Tom Wood in the number 6 Racing 1 Aston Martin Vantage. So maybe they've had another look at the data and decided he didn't go below the timing. I don't know. We will wait and see. Or maybe they're going to wait until we're back under green flag conditions before informing of any penalties. But now we can get a better picture of where drivers are after the pit stop window has closed. There are still 19 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining, and who knows what's going to happen. This may not be the last safety car. I will remind you, Red Bull Ring last time out, we had 5. That's 5 safety cars in one race, and GT4, as exciting as it is, does sometimes provide us with a fair amount of time before behind the safety car and bring on the potter's wheel.
And that was on a perfect day as well. From a weather perspective, this could be quite a mighty kettle of fish being boiled.
Oh, we've got red.
Okay, red flag.
Now, that is a surprise. Red flag. Now, I am wondering whether we've hit the curfew. There is a curfew on this track. The time
7 o'clock, I believe, the curfew.
Okay, so it's currently 27 minutes past 6 local time. So the red flag is out now. Why they would throw a red flag now, I am not too sure. It'll be a gift for Hartvig if they do.
See, I think this is part of it, actually. You mentioned Hartvig. I'm still not convinced that everyone else is on wets.
Right.
I looked down the pit lane during that pit stop frenzy. It didn't look like everyone was changing tyres. I'm just wondering if they're avoiding inevitable expensive consequences with a mixed wet-dry or slick wet-tired grid. That might be what they're trying to do. And you see there's a lot of tyres being taken onto the grid, so I think that might be the factor that's in play.
Well, that really would be a gift for Hartvig if he's on slicks, and indeed for anybody else who is on slicks. But we will see. The cars come to a stop on the start-finish line. We are under red flag conditions. The clock stops at 18:36. They do say that safety cars breed safety cars, and in these conditions, it's almost a dead cert. We see the teams coming out with all the trolleys. So, high drama and a little bit of mystery. Always like an Agatha Christie movie, isn't it? We wait to see what occurs next. A busy, packed grid. It's Ortman, who is our leader. I can see that Adam's got his hand out of the window, and it is properly precipitating down, isn't it?
It's a little bit lighter than it was maybe 5 minutes ago, but yes, every time I go out there, my arm gets a bit damp. So yes, it certainly is wet out there. You see now the changes ongoing and seeing slicks coming off the 31 car and wets going on. Again, right. I think this is almost an instance of race direction saving the teams from themselves. No one wanted to try and change 4 tyres on 5-stud wheels in 95 seconds, so no one did. And the steward said, well, maybe you guys should be on, wets right now. And I think this might be the origin of the red flag. Certainly, we saw, I think, Allied Racing put a couple of their cars onto the wets.
Yeah.
A few teams definitely did, but I think it was anything but a universal move.
Well, you can see from the graphic on your screen, you've got more information than we have. Oh, it's now just popped up on our timing screen, 18:39. It's currently 18:29 local time, coming up to 18:30, so a 9-minute break. Those who did pit and change to wet tyres will probably be feeling slightly aggrieved.
Yes.
And will be wishing they'd stayed out. And there may be discussions with the race director afterwards. But as already mentioned, sometimes the teams and the drivers need saving from themselves. And that is exactly what's happening. So it's everybody onto wet tyres. The teams are going to be pretty busy because they have got 8 3/4 minutes in which to change the tyres on those cars that have not gone on to wets already. Again, to remind you, normally tyre changes are not a feature of an ADAC GT4 Germany race. But we continue to watch them change the tyres on the grid, and the rain continues to come down. There's Hugo Sasser just helping in any way that he can, and Mike David Ortman, who will carry on as the leader of this race. Now, the graphic has come up to tell us that the remaining time of the race will be 13 minutes plus 1 lap. We are knocking on the door of the curfew here at Zandvoort. We need to be stopped our engine noise by 7 p.m, we believe. So you can see there the remaining time of the race will be 30 minutes plus 1 lap. I think that can almost be classed as a dash for the cash, don't you?
I reckon so, yes, although it might end up being more of a swim for the win, I'd suggest.
Very good. I'm going to put a crisp £10, 10 pence piece, 10 pence piece on the table, and I'm going to suggest that this is not the last safety car that we see this afternoon. I don't wish to be a doom monger, but do you up me my 10p that is sat in front of you at the moment? Do you agree or disagree that we're going to see another safety car?
Well, firstly, I'm disappointed. I thought that was going to be a bet as to who was going to win this race, which I thought was incredibly brave of you, sir.
Well, be a brave man who bets against Altman, I have to say.
Okay, interesting. As for whether there's another safety car, I'd love to have faith, but I have to agree.
This is GT4, the home of the safety car. Under red flag conditions here at Zandvoort, we're approaching the halfway point of the season. It is race 5 of a 12-race season. Has been an action-packed season so far. Race 6 will be tomorrow. Grid qualifying has already happened for tomorrow's race, but we'll keep you in suspense about that one, about who's going to start on pole position. It might feature that car there somewhere along the way, but you'll have to wait and find out. Tune in tomorrow for the second GT4 race of the weekend. But we still have this race to complete. Car 6 under investigation for a pit stop time. So Tom Wood, we thought that might be coming, having taken over from Ewan Mackay. There's Vincent Andronacco, our Vec woolly hat. I think we all need one of those in these conditions. The Racing One Aston Martin, we think, went under the minimum pit stop time, and it might be that he will have to visit the penalty box. That will be insult on top of injury, because the cars will be bunched up and he will lose a lot more places as we look on at the rest of the field. Was that Jan-Philipp Springhob that we saw just flashing on the picture then? Here are the cars hitting the ground. You look like you're about to say something.
I was just going to say it's insult to injury for the 6 crew, for Racing One, as you said, but on multiple fronts, because they're currently 15th place. 15th place, 13 minutes, they had a chance to move up the point scoring order. 15th is the last points paying position, a single point for 15th place. Of course, they're 3rd in the championship after a very, very positive Oschersleben.
Yeah.
And they're going to almost inevitably fall completely out of the points here, and with it, one would suspect they're going to lose championship positions as well.
Well, they were looking pretty forlorn about second place at Oschersleben, so I hate to think what this is going to do to them. You can see the 5-minute board has been given. The wet track board has been held up. You don't say. And the drivers have been instructed to turn the lights on. Not only because it's raining, because the race has gone on so long, it's getting dark. We look at the number 24 car. That is our leader, the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin Vantage GT4. A very rapid car indeed. Just looking at manufacturers, it's an Aston Martin 1-2, Nico Gruber in a Mercedes in 3rd, and then 3 Porsches before we get to Toyota. Just looking what else, our highest placed BMW is Michael Schrey in 10th. Who else have I missed out? Oh, KTM Crossbow in 22nd. That's definitely a fairly quiet afternoon by their standards. The very brave audience on the sand dunes of Zandvoort, looking down at this rain-sodden circuit, as once again the Turn 12 marshals do their stuff. They've spent more time on telly during this race than the actual race leader has. Have you noticed that?
More telly time than the Turn 10 Teddy as well, and I think they need the manpower. I think that needs to be donated to Turn 12 for tomorrow. They've been so busy down there all day long. It's something of an inevitability, a nice deep gravel trap waiting after a corner as tight as turn 11. There's something of inevitability to a busy day if you get assigned turn 12 as a marshal here at Zandvoort, I would hasten to suggest. Interesting, you of course mentioned there, you've got the Astons in the top 2, the Mercedes in 3rd place, the trio of Porsches behind. That does of course mean just 2 engine models in the top 6, because the Mercedes and the Aston share the same 4-litre unit.
Another thing that has flashed up on our screen just in the last few moments, car 22 is under investigation. So the car that was driven by Vincent Andronacco and Leo Pichler. Pichler making his debut for Team Allied Racing, having jumped into that seat for this event. The car is under investigation for an unsafe release during the pit stops. So there may well be a penalty incoming. So what looked so promising for the Team Allied Racing Porsche, looking like certainly a second, a third, possibly even a win. This could all go horribly wrong. Currently fourth in the timing screens, but if there is a penalty, then that may well relegate the 22 car further down the order. Just looking at the times, we are about 2 minutes away from the restart of this race. It has been eventful, to say the least. It is the ADAC GT4 Germany race 5 of the season. We look at the number 10 BMW being driven by Michał von Zabienski for Schubert Motorsport. That car currently 13th. There is the car that is under investigation because of the pit stop time. That's the number 6 that we saw there, Tom Wood. And there the number 84 car. That is Ricardo Dort, who's taken over from Ferdinand Winter. We will be getting this race underway very shortly. Red flag conditions, 13 minutes remaining plus 1 lap. And it could all kick off in the next few minutes. I dare say the safety car will take them around for at least a lap, maybe a couple of laps, just to get heat back into the tyres and brakes. And then we will hopefully get a bit of racing in before we all pack up for the day. Looking in the ADAC Motorsport car. And we now see the board being raised. I think we're about to go for the 30-second board. A little bit early. We've still got 20 seconds before that kicks in. Well, I don't know who my money's on. It has been quite a random race. At the moment, Mike David Ortman leads from Ben Dorr and Nico Gruber. It's a baptism of fire for him in the number 8 Mercedes. Leo Pichler with an investigation hanging over him in 4th place in the number 22 Allied Racing Porsche. Then Cedric Pirot. No, it's not. Then is Finn Zulauf in the number 31 Porsche. Then Alex Hartwig in the number 44 Porsche. Then Cedric Pirot and Theo Overhaus rounding out the top 8. The engines are running. Interesting, the windscreen wipers are not running on some of the cars. So, what's the weather doing?
It's still soggy. Yes,
right, okay.
The track is soggy and it's being added to in abundance.
So, looking at the championship standings, Ben Dorr, 4th in the championship standings. He in that 2nd place, looking to make a bit of a jump, as indeed is Mike David Ortman. They who have been so strong in that car at Oschersleben, but had a wretched Red Bull ring, looking to make up for that here in race 1 at Zandvoort. You can see the cars are running behind the safety car. The clock is now ticking down once again. A little under 12.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race, the first of the weekend, the first of 2 for the GT4 cars. Up on the banking of turn 3. And we'll let you know when we have any indication of when the safety car is going to come in. Car 48 is under investigation. In fact, safety car in on this lap, so we are going to get this underway fairly quickly. Car 48, just quickly, that is being driven by Christopher Rohner, took over from Yevgen Sokolovsky, is under investigation for pit stop infringement. That may well be too many cars, too many mechanics working on the car during what was the mandatory pit stop. Yes, Adam to the side of me. You're thinking Theo Overhaus might be quite good from 8th on the grid. I tend to agree with you. That 85 car is rapid. I think Mike David Ortman is going to take a bit of stopping. we're going to have everything crossed that we don't get another safety car. The safety car is in on this lap. That does surprise me. I thought we might do a couple of laps behind the safety car. Clearly not. The cars are heading up towards turn 10 at the moment, and it will be Mike David Altman who will back the pack up and then try to get the jump on Ben Dore. Mike David Altman, who does feature in GT3 racing as well, an experienced pilot, and he will know how to take a restart and hopefully get the jump on second place.
Yeah, this is going to be a very entertaining restart to this race. They're going to have to be so careful going into that Tarzan braking zone. With all the weaving in the world, those tyres won't be up to temp. The brakes certainly won't be up to temp. Oh. And the braking zone will have extended owing to the sheer slipperiness that is now the tarmac here at Zandvoort. This will be entertaining. Brian, I think we better strap in.
Yeah, start the engines on the breakdown trucks, please. Here we go. Mike David Altman, he's weaving. Ben Dore is weaving, but he needs to be ready to anticipate. Is Aston Martin v Aston Martin, but is there going to be a Mercedes or a Porsche or even a Toyota that comes through to win this race? There's 10 minutes remaining. It's going to be an anything can happen type of 10 minutes. The greens are out already. Altman has nailed the accelerator. He's caught Ben Dore. A right whopper there. Dore is behind. Nico Gruber under pressure from Leo Pichler. What a debut in this car for Team Allied Racing for Leo Pichler. Has a little look at Nico Gruber in the Mercedes. Now to the outside into Tarzan. Are they all going to get around? The headlights burning through the mist and the spray. And, well, I ain't either Doommonger. They've all made it around turn 1, haven't they? That's impressive. Into turn 2 we go. Altman, what a great start he made. And Ben Dore doesn't appear to have much that he can bring to the table. Gruber under pressure from Leo Pichler. The rest of them all scrapping over the places. Here we go. That is the number 22 of Pichler in the 4th place. Has he got past Nico Gruber? I think Pichler may have made the jump on Gruber. I need to see that again. Here come the rest of the cars through the mist. Mike David Altman, and yes, Pichler is up into 2nd place, so he's found a route past. And now Gruber has Finn Zulauf behind him and filling the mirrors.
Lots of scrapping here, isn't it? Here comes Overhaus in the 85 car. He's all over the back of Pirro in the number 12, the Toyota, out of the Pirro Sports stable. And Cedric is going to be trying his best to hold him off. The 89 car, penalty lap, pit stop infringement. That's the KTM. Also with a penalty for a pit stop time is the number 6 car of Tom Wood. We expected that. The 89 car also getting a penalty for an infringement. They're both penalty laps. So that is the little bus stop looking thing there on the exit of turn 12.
Yes, that's a box that is 200 metres long, and the car must pass through it off the racing line at no more than 50 kilometres an hour. That will feel like a snail's pace. Also, a penalty lap for car 22. That's significant because it's the Leo Pichler car in 4th place. He will have to visit the pit box, and with the field closed up as it is, he will lose several places as a result of that.
Yeah, Hartvig there will be ruining that one. We've also had the 48 car confirmed for a penalty lap as well, all coming in thick and fast. Theo Overhaus under pressure from Hendrik Still in that number 30 Porsche Cayman. The car out of the W&S Motorsports stable. And look at them further back, all trying to find room, all trying to find a line of sight without any spray, ideally too.
That's Pavel Lefterov who's making a move. Is that on Nico Handke? Looks like it might be. Is that the 95 car? But Pavel Lefterov fairly useful in that Porsche. And yes, it is Nico Handke ahead of him. So Handke, who has dropped back down the order, and Pavel Lefterov turning the heat up behind them. Mikhail von Zabienski, who is also there. He is in the BMW. Another of the BMWs, a little bit quiet by their standards. Mikael Schrey currently showing in 11th place for the defending champions in GT4. This has not been the kind of race that they were hoping for when they got out of bed this morning. You said keep an eye on Theo Overhaus in the number 85 car. Well, he's in 8th place at the moment. He's got his eyes on 7th place. That Supra has his mirrors full of car. and the car that belongs to Overhaus, to be precise. The Supra also challenging the car in front. A little bit of contact, a bit of a nudge, and now into the pit box goes Leo Pichler. Now, was that avoiding action as the car slowed down? Saw somebody going wide.
That was a big moment there. Hartwig got onto the dirt there, and almost took his teammate. I thought that was going to be a horrible moment for Allied Racing. Here comes the leading pack then, or rather the fourth place backpack, with Pirro already up to fifth position. And look at this, Theo Overhaus getting alongside the Allied Racing car of Hartwig. He gets through. It's now going to be intra-Allied Racing warfare as the rain continues to fall, but Hendrick still man on the move up to sixth position.
So Pichler lost 5 places as a result of visiting the penalty lap, and I'm not entirely convinced that Hartwig wasn't distracted by cars slowing down and going off the racing line, which caused him to go wide. Whichever way, the two of the Allied Racing Porsches running together, but ahead of them, this is quite a battle that is going on. It's Overhaus once again on Hendrick still to the inside. Hendrick still trying to hang it around the outside, but Overhaus has the faster line through. But look at this for Grunt, the Porsche trying to come back under braking, and Overhaus steals away 6th position. We thought he might be good in the wet, and that is proven to be the case, but still not done yet, and he is fighting back. But Overhaus takes that place away from Hendrick still.
Less than 5 minutes left to go. This has flown by, the wet weather shenanigans here in GT4. Battle for third place looking interesting as well, isn't it? With Gruber under pressure from Finn Zulauf and Pirro in 5th position. Pirro doing well in the Supra. Quite surprised by that. The Supra was looking like the hardest car to manage in the dry conditions, but in the wet, it's seemingly doing very nicely in the hands of Cedric Pirro, who's now forcing Zulauf to go defensive, and around the outside goes Pirro. That's often ideal in the wet conditions, but he can't quite get it done. Was trying to get the traction out of the painted curb on the exit of turn 13, and that very rarely works. A bad run out of the corner at turn 13 means that Overhaus could be a threat too now.
Of course, that Toyota has been fitted with a nice new set of wet tyres as a result of the stoppage. So that would have helped somewhat, because we thought the tyres might be burnt out. Theo Overhaus sees the gap on the inside, backs out of it a little. I'd say discretion is the better part of valor in these conditions, because any kind of contact is going to end in tears. Up high goes Overhaus, but down low goes Pirro. Look at them sliding up the banking. Overhaus, did he get on the grass? He certainly got close to it. He's not backing off. Theo Overhaus, the number 85 car, moving forwards, putting the pressure on. Ahead of him, Cedric Pirro and also Finn Zulauf. In fact, behind him is Cedric Pirro, of course. Finn Zulauf ahead of Theo Overhaus. Finn Zulauf in 4th place. Nico Gruber is able just to break clear because Finn Zulauf is having to drive very defensively.
Yes, and look at this, Overhaus again for the 2nd consecutive lap, up the inside at turn 9. Last time it worked on Hendrick still, and now it works on the other Cayman of Zulauf. But Zulauf was looking to the inside there, and here comes Overhaus on Gruber. The two Mercedes now at very close quarters as they run out of turn 10 on towards the heavy braking zone for Hans Erzbend. Turn 11, and is Overhaus on the inside? No, he's on the outside. Will he make it work? Yes, he does. Forces the matter to the inside for turn 12, of course, and now the pieces are being picked up by Zulauf for good measure.
So Nico Gruber was looking for his first ever podium in ADAC GT4. It doesn't look like he's going to get it this afternoon unless there is some kind of upset, and that is the kind of upset that might happen. Look at Hendrick still getting stuck in, backing off, but absolutely nobody. The rain is coming down, the mist is rising up in the air, the headlights are burning through, and Hendrick still is on the outside of Nico Gruber, heading in towards Tarzan turn 1, trying to steal away the 4th place behind Finn Zulauf, trying to fill the position. Gruber goes deep into the corner, still holding on to that, but surely Hendrick still has done enough to get in front. The Porsche loving these wet conditions and relegating Nico Gruber another position, as does Finn Zulauf. So having run in that podium position for so long, suddenly Nico Gruber tumbles down the order into 6th place because Zulauf is through. Pirro following through on his shirt tails.
Yeah, it's great stuff, this, isn't it? Such a brilliant scrap we've got here for what was at one point third down to about 8th or 9th place. I think now that Overhouse has got through into third, he is breaking away. Indeed, he is, and of course still through into 4th position. He was looking quick too. So those are two drivers I'd expect to break away now if given the opportunity. Here comes Cedric Pirro up the inside of that Drago Racing Team ZVO Mercedes, and certainly that Mercedes doesn't look like the most confidence-inspiring car, at least in the mind of Nico Gruber, because he's been under threat from just about everybody in the last few moments. Now Pirro is trying to find a way past.
The former TCR Germany junior champion Nico Gruber in all sorts of trouble here as he's coming under lots of attack. He sees the podium slipping away. Mike David Ortman leads by 2.2 seconds from Romain Leroux. Theo Overhouse into a podium position, but still this fight goes on. Nico Gruber and Cedric Pirro in the Toyota out of Lyondike. They come once again. We are into the final 30 seconds of timed racing. We will have an additional lap once the clock strikes 0. Our leaders into turn 1, so it'll be this lap plus one more remaining in this race.
Switch for position between Lefterov and Schrey. Meanwhile, around the outside goes Pirro. Pirro trying very hard to go around the outside, and he's done it. Very difficult in the dry, a little bit easier in the wet, but back through comes Gruber. No, not quite. They managed to just about find room for 2, and it's all kicking off here as going to the inside of the banking goes Gruber, but eventually Pirro capitalizes. He takes 6th. Meanwhile, Lefterov in 10th place now, demoting the #1 car, the defending champs, out of the top 10.
Brilliant stuff. Pirro doing well not to pirouette in these wet conditions. I had to get in there somewhere. But that Supra looking mighty in the wet. Whoever said GT4 was not entertaining did not see this. They have done nothing but entertain all season long. This has been an absolute classic. We thought it might be a bit lively. It's turned out to be exactly that. This fight for position all the way down through the field. Nico Gruber currently in 7th place with Hartvig, Alex Hartvig, Leo Pichler there queued up behind him in the Allied Racing Porsches, looking for a route past. Now, where's our leader? Our leader is up into turn 12. The clock has struck 0, so it'll be the remainder of this lap and then one more after that, and this race will be concluded. Who knows how this is going to go? Nico Gruber will be somewhat disappointed, having been running in a podium position along with his teammate Jan Philipp Springhoff for so long. Here comes our leader, Mike David Ortman. Now, Romain Leroux has cut the lead gap down to 1.6 seconds. Now, whether Mike David Ortman is just tiptoeing a little bit, but Leroux is not really going to do too much about it. He's taken 4/10 out in the last lap. We are in the final lap of the race. Mike David Ortman leading the way, and still this fight goes on. It's Nico Gruber with Alex Hartvig for company, and also Leo Pichler, who's also gone the wrong way down through the order as a result of that visit to the penalty box.
I think one driver who will be ruining the shortened distance of this race will be Theo Overhouse. Look at those last laps for the top 3. 53.9 for our leader, 53.6 for Leroux, 51.8 for Theo Overhouse. Comfortably the fastest driver out there on circuit. Oh, to have had 3 more laps for the 85 crew.
Overhouse didn't get the chance to show what he was made of at Oschersleben, which was the last time we saw him. He's certainly making up for that now, isn't he? Along with Julian Hanses, a very potent combination. Currently looking at 3rd step on the podium. 2nd place is likely to be Romain Leroux, but he has closed in on Mike David Ortman in this, the final lap of the race. Ortman tiptoeing around, trying not to make a mistake. I think Mike David Ortman will be mighty pleased to see the checkered flag, because that Aston Martin in 2nd has been closing in on the Aston Martin that leads the way. Mike David Ortman now just tiptoeing through turn 12 for the final time. All he's got to do is keep it pointing in the right direction and keep the green car in 2nd place behind him, heading up towards turn 13 onto the banking for the final time into Ari Lyondike corner. Out of 14 he comes, and onto the pit straight. Mike David Ortman can breathe a sigh of relief, as indeed can Hugo Sasser, his co-driver. They win race 5 of the season. Great drive from 007, Ben Dure and Romain Leroux into second place, and third place, picking up a first podium of the season. It's Theo Overhaus and Julian Hanses, first podium of the season, first podium ever for that driver combination, and either of those drivers in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Wow, pure entertainment. It looks like nighttime out there.
Does rather. I think you had intentions of doing a run after the last race today. I assume that's been called off.
Yeah, I think my track run might wait till tomorrow morning.
Track
or something
swim
like that. Yes. Yeah, I think we're just going to jump in the shower and warm up, I should think. So Mike David Altman is the race winner in the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin. A great drive. Anyone who thought he had it easy, well, think again. The statistics will say he won from pole position. The facts will say he and co-driver Hugo Sassa really had to fight for that win, and they're going to have to do it all again tomorrow.
I'll say a big round of applause as well to the 23 team. Pavel Lefterov managed to get himself up to 9th place there. Ultimately, we saw him get around the BMW number 1 from the Hofer Racing Bonk Motorsport camp at the end, towards the end of the race. But on the last lap, I believe it was, Lefterov managed to get around Pichler to take 9th place. So Lefterov in that 23 car, along with Bastanajev, getting a good result there and making up places in the late stages of the race.
Here's confirmation of the race. Hugo Sassa, Mike David Altman taking the win ahead of Ben Dure and Romain Leroux. Julian Hanses and Theo Overhaus in third place. Max Kronberg and Henrik Still in fourth. Nikolai Moller-Madsen, Finn Zulauf in fifth. Marcel Linez, Cedric Pirot in sixth ahead of Jan Philipp Springhoff. Nico Gruber, Moritz Viskersen and the other driver, Alex Harvig, in eighth place. They scroll through so quickly nowadays, don't they? We have overrun slightly, it has to be said. Here come the rest of the positions, 9th through to 16th, and the remainders of the cars. An amazing number of finishers as well. The 89 KTM Crossbow, Josef Knopp and Matej Pavlicek were non-finishers, as were Christopher Rohner and Yevgen Sokolovsky. Daniel Schwerfelt, who shared with Axel Sartingham, but by my reckoning, everybody else finished, and that is a result in itself.
Absolutely is, isn't it? Races of attrition often, these wet races, even more so, I'd say, mixed condition races. But 24 cars crossing the line on the lead lap at the end of things, and I believe 26 ended up taking the flag ultimately. Just 2 of them were a lap down.
Yes,
so just
of course.
the one retirement.
So 1 non-finish, yes, of course. Here's Hugo Sassa. He says, a rise to David Altman. That is a really good combination. The 2 of them have a real chemistry. They work together, they complement each other really well, and there's a proper bromance going on there as well. As you can see, they have been a partnership in racing for a couple of years now, and it has proven to be very, very successful. There's a lot to be said for keeping the same teammate over a number of seasons. You get to know how each other operates. They clearly enjoy the setup on the car that each other has, and they are back in the championship hunt.
I think I was just doing a bit of a read there of Hugo Sassa's facial expression. It was, I think, I like winning races, but I don't like standing in the rain, was the overall facial expression I got from Hugo there.
I think we'd all agree with that one. That's the second place. Yeah, indeed. The second place, Romain Leroux with Ben Dure in the Bond-themed Aston Martin. A great bit of marketing there from the 007 car and the Dure Motorsport team. Theo Overhaus, I think very much one of the drives of the day, along with co-driver Julian Hanses. As I mentioned earlier, we did wonder how Julian Hanses would do as a Porsche driver through and through, stepping into the front-engined Mercedes AMG, but he has taken to it very well. There is Julian Hanses congratulating Mike David Altman, of course. Both drivers with a lot of experience, just not always in this category. That is the third place, Julian Hanses with Theo Overhaus for CV performance in the Mercedes AMG, the number 85 car. Second place, Ben Dure, Romain Leroux, the Aston Martin Vantage for Dure Motorsport. And in the rain, in the slippery, misty, wet conditions, the car that came home in first place started on pole position, the Aston Martin Vantage GT4 for Pro Sport Racing, with Hugo Sasser and Mike David Altman at the wheel. So the rain continues to fall. It's saturated race suits, but job well done. Mikael Stray, Gabriel Piana finishing in a distant 11th place, so that will shake up the standings. Where did Indy Doncha and Phil Dorr finish? Phil Dorr in 12th place, so the first and second in the championship a long way down. Tom Wood and Ewan Mackay finishing out of the points as well. So the people who are going to close up, actually Romain Leroux and Ben Dorr, that second place will elevate them up the standings.
Tell you what, I think it's quite nice that they have a staircase straight up to the podium here at this circuit. Usually, you have to kind of go into a building, get a little bit lost, and the drivers go and chat to their mates. And it takes 10 minutes to get the podium together. But here at Zandvoort, they've got a direct line, point A to point B. And I know it sounds like I'm being very trivial, but honestly, sometimes it's difficult.
It's a blessing to everybody, because they haven't got to listen to us rattling on about nothing much in particular whilst we wait for them to get on the podium. Only 27 laps completed in that race, a lot less than you'd normally expect in a 1 hour race, but that, of course, we had the stoppage, we had the wet conditions. Here come our third place drivers, Theo Overhaus, the very young Theo Overhaus, onto the podium along with the very tall Julian Hanses. Romain Leroux on to the podium along with Ben Durr. And then we have our race winners, Mike David Altman and Hugo Sasser. They've stood on the top step of the podium before. They had to work for that one, and it's their first win of this year. They did well last year, but the first win for this year. A representative from Pro Sport Racing will also get a trophy for his troubles. Hugo Sasser said that he was going to take a bit of a back seat from racing this year to concentrate on his A-levels. Well, if this is the back seat, I hate to think what the front seat looks like. That was a solid performance from Sasser and David Altman. They receive their trophies as they stand on the top step of the podium. Great stuff from them, wasn't it?
Really was. And of course, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Sasser made a cameo in GT Masters last year at the Sachsenring, didn't
he? Yeah, both he and David Altman were together. Yes, absolutely. More than one, in fact, has been made by Sasser.
I dare suggest, come 2023, that might be their front seat when it comes to Sasser and racing.
I think there's every possibility. Theo Overhaus beaming. Julian Hansen's giving him a hug. And great to see Theo Overhaus taking his debut podium in this category. We did just see the points scrolling through. I was too busy talking. I didn't actually look at them. We'll let you know the points, but do check out the ADAC GT4 website, where everything will be updated fairly quickly, and you'll find out who's doing what. I did see that Sasser and Altman are just 19 points off the lead of the championship, so already making up for that wretched Red Bull Ring race. The rain is coming down, the champagne is flowing,